Good morning, I'm JD and welcome to my channel. Stay away from everyone these days. At least 2 meters, which is equal to 6 feet if you do a little bit of math a little bit differently than you normally do. So anyway, I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. You can get a hold of me at jdwatchservice@gmail.com. Some folks have told me they can't read that. Someday I will fix it and make it bigger. I've got 6 watches, 6 pocket watches and 2 watches on the bench right now. So if you need watch work done, you're going to have to wait a couple of months because I work on the weekends and sometimes in the evenings, but mainly on the weekends. So thanks for all the comments on the Illinois, not Waltham pocket watch work I did yesterday actually. And today I'm going to be working on the Mainspring, hairspring, that crazy contraption they have for connecting the hairspring onto not the balance cock, but the balance bridge hairspring retention thingamajobby device. I'm not sure what I'd call it, but anyway, a gentleman wrote me and said he's run into those a few times. It looked like it's easier to actually do work on the balance cock and the upper jewel, which I need to do today as well. And I think he's right because it's just sitting there. There's no hairspring attached to it. And I'm going to use my famous dunker tank, this little jobby do here, to actually dip that hairspring into lighter fluid and clean that. I'm hoping that the that little tiny pin thing will stick on the end here, because this is pretty fine, but the hole for that pin is also very fine. So if that doesn't work, I'll have to find out another way of retaining it, because I want to dunk that hairspring and balance into lighter fluid. I do not want to take all that apart, right? Because it will screw with the beat error, and there's, it's an old watch, so you never know what'll happen. So I'd rather have that whole thing retained as a single unit, or maintained as a single unit, and not having to strip that down. And as you saw yesterday, I was a little bit nervous. Wait, time for a sip of coffee. Oh yeah. Time for a sip of coffee, yeah. Anyway, I was a bit nervous working on that balance, only because I hadn't done it before, and it actually turned out to be not that difficult, and a pretty cool little way of actually attaching that hairspring independently and having the balance cock just go boop right on top of that pivot, right? So that's good. So it shouldn't be too difficult to put back together. Yesterday I reassembled the movement, which was fun, and I have to file the top of the barrel arbor today in order to allow, basically I got to file the top of the barrel arbor to make sure that key will work, because somebody probably used a smaller key or maybe just the same size key but rounded off the corners on this particular winding mechanism, because there's a key wound watch. I'm looking down, I'm looking at it, by the way. When I look down, I don't look at the camera, because looking at the camera assumes I'm looking at you, but all I'm looking at is my camera. I'm not actually looking at anybody. It's weird. Now I know why those actors get paid so much money. So anyway, so I've got to take a file, a very fine file, and see if I can square that arbor off a little bit to allow it to grab onto that key a bit better. And I'll take a look at the end of that key to make sure it isn't rounded as well, because that doesn't serve the purpose as well. So I also have a set of keys for pocket watches, and if I take material off of that arbor, the key that I'm using here might not work. So I may recommend to this gentleman who owns this watch to get a set of these pocket watch keys. They're like $5 on Amazon. They're cheap as heck, and well worth it. So today we're just going to reassemble this, or clean the balance and hairspring in lighter fluid, and then I'm going to clean the jewel, the upper balance jewel, and have a look at it as well, examine it to see if it's in good condition, not cracked, not ovaled out or anything like that. I'm hoping it isn't, because if it is, then I got to replace that jewel in the top, which is another whole job. So anyway, let's get on with this, and thanks for watching my videos again, and yabba dabba doo. I'm not sure what else to say. Like my lab back there, pretty cool stuff. Alright, so I got the balance sitting in a well protected case, plastic thingamajobby. I need to write a list of names of stuff, eh? So there's the face of the watch here. I also need to put on the proper glasses. Somebody said I was sitting way too high yesterday, and I was like, okay. I think they were right at the time. I also need to close my blinds a bit because I'm getting tons of light from the side here. So I guess it's not professional to tell you what I need to do, right? But I'm doing it anyway. And there's also lines in here. Turn on the camera light. So we're doing some real-time stuff. Take my glasses off. These are my normal reading glasses I use for computers and stuff for work. And as I've described before, with the airy loop is highly recommended, and it comes with the this is a ×5, I believe. But then I have prescription glasses for the top for computer, and the bottom is I had them make them a 3 times on the bottom, which is perfect because I can sit there and do a lot of the pocket watch work with the 3 times and not have to drop the loop. When I get in close, I drop the loop, so it just gives me stereo vision. So what I'm curious about is if this little knobby thing will actually stick on the end of this. If it doesn't, I got to figure out what I do here. So, although the hairspring does look like it's in pretty good condition, but I would really like for this thing to be able to drop down the center, and for me to be able to wash it in here. That would be a perfect thing to happen. Yes. Also, I cleaned a watch. I cleaned part of the watch yesterday and put some lighter fluid in here and dropped, what was it I put in there yesterday? I can't remember. So I'm just going to throw this in here too, to use that as kind of protection for the pivot. It's like faux leather, I think, is what that is. I'll leave this up here. That way I don't forget it, right? And get this out of the way. And take another sip of my coffee. This is all part of the movie you're watching. And I'm hoping you like this better than Netflix. Lower my seat. So there's my hand. Now watch me lower my seat. My hand is way down now. So when you heard that, right? So now I'm very close to my work and leaning over with my elbows. So the guy that commented yesterday was correct. I was too high, but what I was doing, I wasn't concerned with it. So here I need to lift this up and just see if this fits on top of here, and I don't know if it will or not. So I'll just do that right now, and that helps me with this particular problem. So just move that out of the way and be very careful. I don't think it will, actually. It doesn't look like it will fit. Hard to say. Actually, it fits. Oh my God. So this is my dunker tank. So if you look at the dunker tank up close, I'm going to go zoom in right now. Alright, there's a close-up of the dunker tank, and right here I can actually see the copper, and these copper? No, they're brass. I can actually see the brass rod coming through here. I got to figure out what's copper and what's brass, because these are brass plates, I believe. So anyway, my wife was criticizing. She says you're getting old. Anyway, so that's coming through. The knob is coming through the end, which means this is actually nicely in there. And so I can actually put lighter fluid in here and then raise this dunker tank up to dunk it. So let me set myself up for that. All right, there's my lighter fluid. Move this movement over just so you can see what I'm up to. And I will pour the lighter fluid into this little tiny nut. So I took this nut and I shaved it down so I can lower the tank just a bit here, and so you gotta figure out which way is lowering. So this is lowering on this side and then lowering on this side. I think that's lowering. Yeah, that's raising, that's lowering. So I lower this thing up, that way it's free here, like that. And then move the nut over to the side so I can just pour the lighter fluid in right there. And being very mindful of this cock up here, because if this were to fall, it could stretch the hairspring. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to fill this thing up here with lighter fluid. No smoking, please. And this little piece of plastic here is actually floating, which I don't like. I didn't think that would float. That was not part of the ultimate plan. So I might grab that and get out of the way because it's floating, and I don't like the fact that it's floating. And when I lower the pivot, it's not going to be a big deal if this is not in the way. So let me just grab this and very carefully move it around. Move that out of the way. Okay, good. It's gone. I can just throw this right back into this little cap I have here that I use for cleaning parts with lighter fluid. Move that out of the way. No smoking, please. And now I will move the this over just a bit, and I'm trying to stay away from this balance cock, but it's pretty secure in there even though it's just up a bit. And now I turn this on the side here like this, and I will carefully raise this up. And I'm not sure how much lighter fluid I've got in there, but I think I've got a bit. I can always add more. Yeah, it's right up to the top. So I'm looking at the top to make sure that I don't screw this up. So now I'm raising this whole unit up, and I'm keeping an eye on that balance cock, or whatever you call it, just so it doesn't cause me any issues. There we go. So that's getting, so I'll raise that right up to the rim, and I might want to move this over just a bit to give me a little more distance as well. Flatten that out. There's a little edge there, so I can raise this up even more. And that's good enough for now. So that's there. So the balance is getting scrubbed right now, and the majority of the mainspring is, or the hairspring, is also getting dunked in here. So what I do, there's the Zippo lighter fluid I use. Zippo. Lean that a bit. There we go. Zippo premium quality lighter fluid. It's actually really good. I've used this for years cleaning watches, so, and it's been successful. So now I've got the mainspring, or the hairspring, sitting in here, and it's just rinsing out. I would normally put a blower in here and agitate this, but I'm very concerned about this sitting on the top here and basically jogging this out somehow by moving that hairspring and it popping up. So I'll just leave it like that for a while, and I will be back after it soaks for a while. Alright, so it's been in here for quite a while, but what I've decided to do is take my tweezers and very carefully put them on the top here, and then blow into this like this and just agitate it a bit. There's so much lighter fluid in here, it's actually coming off the edges. So I'm not sure if I can cause any more problems, but if there's any oil or whatever on that hairspring, it's going to come off anyway. It's been here for quite a while. So we are good, folks. We are good. Alright, now I have to lower this and then lift it out very carefully. So put away my little puffer tool. It's a little more daintier than I normally would do because I am concerned. And I'm going to put this back where it was before, after I've lowered this. So if I did this to make it go up, I got to do the opposite to lower it. So let's just lower this slowly, and because of Bernoulli probably, the water will, adhesion of the water, so it'll grab, those water molecules are going to grab that metal and make it a little harder to rise up. Plus it weighs a bit more because it's wet. So I'm just going to grab this here very carefully and raise it up myself as I lower this very carefully. So I don't think you guys can see anything of this, so I'll just move the camera around a bit. And so I'm lowering the dunker tank here. It looks like I'm raising it on one side and lowering it on the other. No, it's just stuck a bit, that's all. There we go. Lowering the dunker tank. This dunker tank was my little invention, and I think it's pretty cool. So someone will probably steal this, patent it, and then make 1,000 of them in China. So I don't give a shit, so it doesn't matter to me. But there it is. So the dunker tank is officially undunkered, and I got to throw this into the snow. Raise that up a bit, lower it a bit, and as you can see, it's a bit wet underneath, which means I'm just going to put this down on my desk, and then I got to let go of this without stretching it. Put my tweezers on the top so this doesn't bounce out of the way, and there we go. So now what I want to do is blow dry this, but I don't want stress on the on this device. So if I move this over to my other tack here, I should be able to blow dry it. So let's do that, or I just do it in place here. But again, I'm a little concerned about this jumping off. I wish I had a solution for this, or this was a little more narrow, even though it's on pretty good right now. Maybe I need to have a coffee break. There we go. So there it is. So this is, I think you've seen this little dunker tank arrangement before. I took a bolt or a nut or whatever you want to call it. This is a cap for a pipe. I've used my lathe and I got rid of all of the threads on the inside, and then I cleaned up the outside as well, because the original wasn't smooth like this, and the bottom as well. I made sure the bottom was flat, and then I got myself a little device so that I could put lighter fluid in. So, and then I cut these plates out and arranged everything, and I actually made these bolts here on my lathe, or just used my dies there to cut them, and made sure that was all done right. And so that worked out really, really well. So that was my little dunker tank, and it's come in handy today for this particular job. I'm going to see if I can hold this on the edges here and then use my blower here to just blow on the hairspring. So there should be. So what I'm trying to do is get the lighter fluid to evaporate here, which should work. It's going to be blunt. It's going to be in considerable amount of lighter fluid left over, obviously, but this stuff evaporates so fast. And once I've finished this, I can see at the top there's very little left. And once I'm finished this, I'm going to put this whole unit back on the balance tack I had it on before, and then it'll dry some more there, so there'll be no issue there at all. So I can't see any liquid anymore collected on the top part. The bottom part might have some, but the top part doesn't. So that's good enough for now. And now let's move this away, out of the way. Grab that nice and tight, and then move this up. I think it likes being on this little tack. I could actually leave it there to dry, right? What do you think? I'm going to see if it fits on this other tack here, just to get it out of the way. But the other tack does look small enough for this to fit on the top. And it does. I didn't realize that before, but it fits. So it's not completely stretched out, which is nice, so it's just resting like this. And this does fit on the other tack, as you can see. I'll just move my camera around a little bit at an angle, and you can see that fitting on the tack. And if you look really closely, you can see the tack sticking through the hole right here. So we're good. I'll let that rest as I reassemble this, as I clean the rest. So that's my dunker tank. So and I got to go outside and get rid of this lighter fluid, so I don't want to reuse this lighter fluid, because there's probably a little bit of dirt in there, and and I don't want to breathe it either. Alright, now the next job here is for me to unscrew this, very carefully unscrew this to get access to and make sure that this doesn't flatten out here. You got to really be careful when you're doing this, because I don't want to bend this in any way, because it has the regulator arms on it, right? As you can see, the little regulator arms. and I want to find a corner that I can use to unscrew this. So either I plate it at an edge like this to do this, or something. The other thing I could do, I'd have to use a smaller block or something. Not sure. I'm not sure how tight those screws are in either. Let me just attack them for a second and see how bad they are. No, that's not too bad. So I just unscrewed one of them, get that out of the way. And if I loosen this one, I can pivot the whole unit over. I'm lifting this up using the balance cock and making sure the regulator arms are. So I just need to loosen that, and then I should be able to rotate this whole thing out of the way. What do you think? This is rotatable. But this whole configuration should also rotate. Let me just loosen that up a bit more. Apologize for my hands being in the way. I'll just turn the camera around a bit. Okay, so I've put the balance cock onto this, or the balance onto this balance cock, and I'm drying up the lighter fluid that I had used when I dunked it in. I'm hoping I recorded the cleaning, but what I did was I took this balance cock, I put it very close to my dunker tank, and I just used a brush. This is my brush right here, and I just wiped it with lighter fluid until it all went away. I looked down and I realized I wasn't recording, so I'm not sure if I recorded that part. So this is drying up nicely, and I've just got this on this cool little balance bridge. So I bought this from China, and I added this little pad on the top, which is just prevents the balance from getting stressed. So if I want to move this back, I go this way, and as you can see, and that lines up the balance. If I had a hairspring on the end here and it was a different one, it would line it up with this, and then I can spin that to turn it to make it go down. This is as far as it goes right now, and so the balance would just be sitting there if this was a different type of balance. So, but it's not. It ain't, as they say in bad English. It ain't. So I'm just going to flip this around and make sure this is dry on the other side too. I think it is. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, my balance is underneath the cup right here, and it is just continuing to dry off, which is fine. And now that I've got it in this configuration, I think I will use my tack here in place to allow me to oil it. I could move it to a different tack. Look at this. I got tons of tacks. I'm tack plenty. This is a lower tack, and I can see how far this thing goes down. Yeah, that's actually better. I want to put that on that tack here. So this is another tack I made in my early tack days to use just to hold balances, and a balance will go on there very nicely as well. So now it's time to bring in this little micro jewel here and have a look at it up close. I believe it's got no crap on it anymore. So what I do is I hold that up, and then I move it around until I see the shine, the shining, the shinning. And I'm just gonna, there's a little piece of something there, I think, or it's, yeah, there was a little tiny piece of stuff there that I needed to remove. So the other thing I want to do here is I want to sharpen the end of this, just to get rid of any goo that was on it from before. So I got a knife, and I just sharpened this up on the end like that. You can probably see that in the upper camera. Just like this, and then now when I attack this little tiny jewel here, it should absorb any crap that might have been left over. And it's doing it. So if I wonder if I can get a close-up of that jewel, because that's really nice. There's the jewel now. And you can see how clean that is, eh? That's super clean right now. So really impressed. So now the trick in putting this jewel back, as I'm continue to lecture, right, which is not what I should be doing, is I said that there was a little mark on the jewel, like a witness mark, and I can see it right now, and it was lined up with this regulator arm. So the jewel would go in like this, right? So I want to turn this around the other way, like so. And I want to apply a little dabble do ya oil on that. So let me get my oilers out here. I need to add more oil to these oilers here. And I got an oiler I just have in the background there, so I just jab that in, make sure it's clean. And these are my oil cups, and I'm using a 90-10 on this. And I'm getting a little tiny bit of oil. Again, if you grab it fast, you pull it out fast, a lot of oil stays on. You pull it out slowly, a little less oil stays on. So you want just the right amount of oil, you don't want too much. That, my friends, is the perfect amount of oil in that jewel. So, and I don't think you saw me do it, but I just dab that oil down like that, and it's the perfect, absolute perfect amount. And I love these cups. It's Bergeron. These things cost a fortune. I saw it online. I just managed to get a hold of that, and I bought it, and I said, okay, I know it's a lot of money, but I'm buying it because I know that it also is professional. So now I'm going to turn this around very carefully without dropping my tweezers and put this back into its home. So just nudge it like this, and it's almost lined up. That's good there. And I use the back of my tweezers because there's more area to just snug that down if I can. There we go. Perfect. And I just have to nudge it over. So look at where the screw cutaway is and nudge it that way. And I've got two screws I took out. This is the first one here. So I put that back in. And very carefully screw that in place. And as I've said to you before, what I'd like to do is preload my screwdriver. So I didn't tighten that up a lot because I want to be able to, when I put this in, if there's any shifting, I want to accommodate for that. And then I can make sure these screws are exactly in the right place. Now I can tighten these screws up and ensure that the cap jewel doesn't come out. So there we go. So now it's in mint condition, and I'll show you what that looks like, all assembled. Again, you see the wrinkles on my skin. Doesn't look good. I should have some other device to hold this with, right? So I'll just use a big pad as my backing. There we go. There's the big backing pad, and that will, there you go. So that's nice, actually. I'll just gotta use this from now on. So there it is. So that's a cleaned out jewel. I need something that doesn't slide either, right? Some black pad that I can use from now on that doesn't slide. So there it is there, and done, right? And if you look really close, you can see those regulator arms. If I just line that up maybe with the paper here. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to use my skin again. So there's the regulator arms. Come on, focus. You know how to focus. I know you do. There it is there. So there's the regulator arms. You see those little pinchers? They go around that spring, so they should be fun to put back together again. So that's it. So now the next step. All right. Probably wasn't going to record this, but I'm going to do an early job here. So I'm going to take the balance out of this watch here right now, and this has got pivots broken on the end, but I'm going to take advantage of my dunker tank. Take advantage of my dunker tank being full of dunker tank stuff, lighter fluid, And I'm just going to put this screw right up here so I don't lose it. And I'm going to take this balance and throw it into the tanking of Dunker. And it's going to have to go this way, right? Because I'm going to pull this out the other way. So I'm doing this early. This is an early job. And I'm going to make sure that the regulator arm and stuff are not in the way. Everything is good there, is it? I'm not sure. Yeah, that's all good. And I just lift this out of the way and this is the same gentleman's watch. It's a different watch. And I'll do a disassembly video of this one too, likely. But I'm going to just put that in there like that. And then I'm just going to put this back together again, because I'll be cleaning this a little bit later on. And this is a vintage Waltham. It's an old Waltham pocket watch. There you go. It's an old Waltham pocket watch. So I'll be doing some work on that later on. But while I've got fluid in the Dunker tank, might as well clean that hairspring, right, folks? So I think I just move this way a bit, and then raise the Dunker tank. It's a thing of beauty, man. Thing of beauty. Cleans the balance and it cleans the hairspring all at the same time. I move the flat part out of the way. That way it doesn't raise up the balance cock. I'm looking at this now to see what I got, and I can throw some more lighter fluid in here, no problem. So let me grab the fluid of lighter, because I want the whole thing to be submerged. This is like a little adjunct in my videos here, so because I want this balance to be clean as well. So I just thought, why should I take the lighter fluid out of that when I can use the exact same lighter fluid? Fill this up. Alright, is that filled to the top? It's close enough. It's drowning. It's drowning, baby. Now I'll take this and move this out of the way, because it's for a different watch. And I'm going to put it way over here. And I'm going to want to cover that. So I'm going to want a glass, but I'll leave it like this for now. So I'll let it aerate for now, as they say. So, as they say, who's this they people that say things all the time? So that's this here. There's the balance ready to go, ready for reinstallation. Got too many screwdrivers out here and other things, so I'm going to reuse the container here and just put that on top of the other balance. Multitasking. Now this is ready for reassembly. But there's a big but going on here. A big but. But the first thing I want to do, or before I do any reassembly, is have a quick peek at this thing here, right? Because if this can't wind the watch, then there's all kinds of other problems. So we'll have a look at that. All right, I'm going to take the pressure off the pocket watch here, but I got a whole set of keys here that might be better than the one that the gentleman gave me. So I'm going to see if I can fit one of these. So here I'm just trying to take pressure off the mainspring, but I don't want the safety pinion to fly out again, because that'll cause me all kinds of problems like I had before. So I'm just going to move this forward like this. I need to get my fingernail in here. I need this little lever here to push up a bit. Just a bit, so I can get my fingernail in there. There we go. Fingernail is in. Now I want positive pressure on this watch here, so it doesn't. And I want to just move the click spring out of the way and then release it down like that, and then let it attach again. Rotate my hand and put it in the wind up, and then let it go back again, and then remove my hand so it clicks in. And then get my fingernail in there again, put a little bit of forward pressure on it like I'm winding it, and then move it back again. and then let this click spring click in again, and then re-grab my key. See, my key like this, and then get my fingernail in there again. See if I can do this without. There we go. A little bit of positive pressure on it, and then let it wind back again. It's almost completely wound out now, so I don't think there's an issue now. So now I've got that, all the pressure is off the mainspring, right? And so now we tighten this up a bit, and I'm going to remove this from the container because that's just getting in the way. And now I've got my pocket watch like this. These are my keys that I said. I got tons of them. You can buy these on Amazon, I think, and they're like $5. They're cheap as heck. And just toss them back in the parts drawer here. And I want to now unscrew the top here, because what I want to do is look at the arbor on the mainspring. So I'm going to unscrew the top very carefully. It wasn't that carefully, was it? And just take these screws and put them out of the way. And I'm going to leave them high and low just so I know where they go back in. And there we go. Now this plate should just come right up without a problem. Move the plate out of the way. So there's my mainspring here. So I might take the barrel out right now because I want to have a look at this arbor. Hoping I can just release the barrel here, and I can. There we go. So the barrel is now out, the mainspring barrel. And let me look at that. I'm going to look at this closely, and I think I'll just file the edges down just a bit. So I'll be back in a second. So I do have a few files to choose from here. Alright, I like this file because it's flat, which is nice, and I can grab it nicely. So, and I might want to grab the arbor here with a pin vise, which would keep it in place nicely. So I'm going to see if I have a pin vise big enough to grab the back end of this arbor, which this pin vise would here. That way I can keep that in place while I turn it. So I'm going to just grab this like this, and then see if I can grab the arbor like this. That way this pin vise, I think that will keep it steady, so I'm not working the barrel, right? I'm working the arbor. So I'm just gonna, I could put this in a lathe too, and then pin up the lathe, but I'll see if I can, I'll see if this works first. I want it to be absolutely flat though, so what should I do? I'm just trying to decide whether I lathe this up or not. So let me just see if it'll remove material. I'm going to take it from the top here and see if this will remove material first. So there you go. So there it is there, and I can see where the flat sides are, but I'm just going to see if this is going to remove any material at all on this. Yeah, it seems to be removing a little bit of material there. Let me look at this again here. I don't know. I may take a diamond plate. You know what? It is removing a bit of material. It's very tricky because the corners are rounded a bit, right? And it kind of screws everything up. It's also coned a bit, which is odd, but it is. So just work all the sides here just a bit. Keep checking my angles to make sure I'm not screwing this up. I may speed this up because it's boring as hell, right? So. All right, now I'm going to check this against some keys here to see how accurate this was. I can check it against the original key, first of all, just in case it seems to work a bit better. But I know that this can only plunge down so far on the key, so we'll see how this works. Seems to have a better grasp on it. But again, I want to make sure that the key has got a good grasp on it. So I think I'm going to recommend to the gentleman that he gets himself, okay, that's way too loose. It's way too loose. So I'm going to start from this end here and go a couple in to see how tight it is. Way too loose, way too loose. A little bit better. But still plunging in too deep. You don't want it to plunge in too deep because you can only go so far with these keys before it hits the base. So Go down a bit more. Sorry about that. I'm just put off on focus here, so I should just stop recording. So I want to make sure that that's not a bad there. So that plunging down about here, but it's still rounding it out. So I want to, still riding up. So let me just see if this is worse or better. This is worse. So I want this key to be a bit bigger. A bit bigger. So try this one here. That's too deep. This is like, it's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. This is just almost just right, except it just does, it wants to ride up a bit, so it's this corner right here that's causing the issue. Methinks. Try this key next to it. Is it bigger or smaller? It's smaller. And this is probably smaller, even smaller. Yep, and these are all smaller. Yeah, those are all smaller keys. So this one here is the one that's still smaller. So this one, I think, is the one that was the right size. So this one here looks like it fits nicely. And if I go one more, though, this one right here, that's perfect. Like, that's not going anywhere, but I'm not sure if that'll be the right one to wind it when it's inside the movement. So when this plate's on, if I look at the plate here, and I just put that on for now, and how that's sitting, then which key is better? So I just take this key here, and is that, yeah, that's a pretty good grip right there. So that this key here is the one that wins, I think, and this key is coming in a strong second. So I think that's enough of filing. Take a look at this again, see if there's any more I can do from a filing perspective. The bases are nice and square right now, so when I look at this here, I know that this is nice and square on the base. I think that's all I want to do there. Now I just have to take this off, just loosen that up a bit and lift that out of the yeah, lift that out, and you can, those pin vices are pretty handy. I think I still got contact with the mainspring here. Yeah, just checking for spring back on the mainspring, so I want to put that back in place. So I just drop this into the movement here like I did before, and I really want it to find home, so I'm hoping it has a good job to find home. I know, like I did last time, I just moved the back end of it to make sure it's in place properly. So just move this around, put some pressure on the top part here, and I know that this part here is not, I can tell that it's not in place. So if I just move that around a bit, I think I might be able to square it off. Come on, baby. Square yourself off. So what I'm doing here is just using my brass tweezers to move this around until that pops through, but it's not wanting to pop through. Just hang on. I'm working on it. I am working on it. I'll have a look at this again. Pull it out a bit. It's almost right. It's almost popping through, but it needs to be over a bit like that. That's all. Which is a tough thing to do when you're putting it in. So more dainty work. Dainty work. So I look at where the square part is, and it's right there. So if I put this in nice and easy. I know that that square part wants to be over there. Oh, there we go. It's a matter of farting with it. You have to do some farting in watch work, right? The old watch repair farting trick. Let me just put this back here. So that's in place right now. I'll look at the other side, but I'm 99.9% sure that it's in place. So let's put this back in and just drop this down. Oh, before I do that, a little dab of oil on there because I did kind of play with it and rub the oil off. So I want to put a little bit back on there and make sure there's oil right here where the arbor, where this touches, and then in there. And this is make sure it's oiled up nicely. There we go. And I'm going to put a little oil on the other side too when I turn it around. So there you go. This goes on top like that. And screw number 1. We move all this stuff out of the way, man. Got so much stuff, and I heated my coffee up and didn't take a drink yet. There it is. Gonna take a drink. Well, this coffee though is decaf, so it shouldn't count, right? Because decaf is not really even a coffee. So some people tell me. I don't know if I believe that, but it's true. So there we go. Put that back in. Tighten that up after. Like I said to people doing watch work, just make sure everything works well before you tighten everything down. Pivots and all that stuff, right? So I'm going to wind this up just a little bit too once I get these screws in. So everything seems to be good. So let me tighten this up a bit. And you don't want to tighten it up too much because you could ruin the head on the screw. So I don't know if this key, the key I had from before, will be any good. It does seem to be working better. It hasn't slipped yet, so just press down and turn. So I'm putting a little bit of pressure on here and winding the watch up. Well, the old key worked. So just a note to the user or the owner, you can use the old key. Just make sure you have nice downward pressure on that so it's not tending to jump up and slip. So I'll make sure this old key gets back into the container. So that's that part. And like I said before, I flip this around and I want to put a little tiny bit of oil right here. That's where the arbor sticks through the main plate. And just put a little tiny bit of oil on that. like so, and then I want to put a little bit of oil on the click spring, and then the click spring pivot, and then where the click spring touches this, the spring of the click spring, right there, like that. And then I need to put the I do need to put just put some oil right in there, and then I'm just trying to make sure these are all appropriately oiled. And then I need the pivots here coming through. That one there, and then that's the second hand one here, and this one here. Just want to make sure that when you put pivot on the second hand oil, or oil on the pivot for the second hand, it's not going to ride all the way down. So, and then I've got a thinner oil to use for the I need to use the 9110 for this one here, so I think I got way too much oil there. So pull that up a bit slowly, and then put the oil in there, and see if I got some oil coming in there. And I don't. I dunno. There we go. That's good there. And then while I'm at it, I might as well throw the cannon pinion back on. See if I can pressure that, put that on nicely. And I'm just trying to make sure I have the watch in the right position to put the cannon pinion in, because I don't want to put undue pressure. I may just put it on a mat here, because it's probably a lot less pressure than putting it on the edge of something. Alright, that cannon pinion is down. Done, as they say. It's done. And then the hour wheel, I'm doing a little bit, I want to put all this together first before I drop the face in, because I don't want to put pressure on that. So I'm just going to do this work before I put the face in. So there we go. So that's the minute wheel going down, and then the hour wheel goes on top of that. Now the big question here is, I don't think this before this had a anything to keep this down. I'm not sure whether they did that back then, so it might not be necessary, which is odd but true. So do I put one in there or not? So I think I'll go get one. Alright, so these are big old dial washers. I'm not sure if they're too big or whether I want to put it on, but see if that fits. And it does. There we go. So now I just put a dial washer on there, and that'll keep that gear pushed down, which is a good thing. And I need to put my dial washers back after. Just put them over here for now. And I need to clean up my oiler. And what I want to do now is put the face back on. So the face is going to go back on. And I have got the dust ring as well. So the first thing I'd have to do to put the face back on is back the screws off for the face that were there before, right? So let me just back these off a bit until I can see there's no issue. Alright, that's one. And I guess I'll put all that back after. This one was the one that wasn't even affecting the dial. And then this is the next one here that actually is in contact with the dial. So I'll put this one back in. Let me just move my camera just a bit. So let me back this one off just a bit. Like that. And I need to put the R wheel back and the dial washer back because they fell out. So, which I expected would happen. So there we go. Put the dial washer back in. These are very thin metal on the dial washer, so it doesn't cause any issues at all. So these should find home pretty easily and come down, right? There's always one or two that are not aligned properly. So there we go. That's now in place, and I need to screw these back in again. This one here is the one that doesn't even have a screw, so it doesn't have the screw is kind of stuck in there or something, so I'm not worrying about that one. This one here does bottom out, which is nice. So it grabs the dial there, and I feel a little bit easier doing this without the hairspring being in there. So there you go. So there we go. So that's in now. I got a little pressure on there. If I just touch this pallet fork, is it going to snap back for me? Yep, it's snapping back, which is a thing of niceness. Now I'm going to put the balance back in. So I'm going to use my big cushy cush to put that to help here. Alright, so this is on my Bergeron pad here. It's gel filled. I don't want to make a dent in the middle there, but it seems to go in and out, so it's pretty durable. So not too concerned here. But so this whole rigmarole goes back in here, so I got to be very careful. So there's three small holes right there that this fits into. So this drops straight down into those three small holes. But I still have to make sure that the balance is on the right side of it. So I'm going to approach it from I think this side and then swivel my way inward this way, right? So here we go. So I'm going to just stop and start. Alright, live action here. So this is making me super nervous. This is the heart surgery that I think the owner of this watch discussed. So I want to just grab this nice and lightly. Like so, and I can see the fork is on the other side, which is nice. So I enter it from this side. Like so, and then I move it around until it finds home. Now it's wound up a bit, so it's going to start ticking on me. I'm going to hold this down while I push the back part because I don't want this to come flying up, right? Till it finds home like that. And then I want to put this, the world's smallest screw has got to go in here. So where's that screw? Now you see it wants to tick, right? So I'll just let it keep ticking and put the screw in place here. I'm dying to put my little piece of Rodico down here. Why don't I do that? Just to stop it from annoying me. As you recall, I did all these jewels already, so I should just have to put this piece of Rodico right in here, and it should stop. I can use my skin of my finger to start off with, just to do that, and then I just put the Rodico down like that, and that should keep it from flying back and forth. There. And now that little screw's got to go in place before anything else happens. There, put that in place and tighten that up. I want to make sure that I think the pallet's not going to be a problem. I think it's on the correct side still, so I don't know whether I need to put the safety ring around that first before I put this in. So, because this is, now I've got to make sure that the hairspring actually gets connected properly here. I see a little piece of hair on the end that I got to get rid of. So I need to make sure that hairspring attaches properly. There we go. A little piece of hair sticking there, so I may have to hold this up and have a look at it while I drop this down. I'm not talking now because this is hairy stuff, folks, hairy stuff. Move this over just a bit. Okay, I'm going to get a different pair of glasses on because I need to get in super close on this to make sure this goes in properly. So we just get this set of made in China super times 25. These are like times 25 glasses, or no, these are times 15 actually. So if I put those on, I can get in close to make sure that the regulator arms go around the hairspring. So I'm being super careful here. I'm getting super close to this thing. And then I'm rotating it here. No, that's not working. Just don't want to screw with the pivot. See, the regulator arm is in place here, but I don't think the pivot for the let's pull this out of the way here for a second. See if I get any movement. Alright, so it's largely in place. I just have to put some pressure down on it, and I gotta switch glasses here. And make sure the upper pivot goes into that hole properly. So, this is killing me here. Alright, I'm not sure how much of the last recording we got, but I managed to screw this down, get the regulator arms on both sides of that hairspring, and then I took my little compass and put that on top like that. And as you can see, there's a little bit of action going on here. So that means that is magnetized, which doesn't surprise me because it's so old. So I will put this into the demagnetizer, which might help with the watch in general. So and I use the demagnetizer I use is made in China, but I find it works pretty well if you know how to hold the movement inside and then move it out slowly. So this is the, I'll just put my thing up a bit. So demag. So this is the demagnetizer I use here, and just throw this stuff out of the way because I'll clean it all up later. So that's the demagnetizer, and of course it came with the wrong plug from China, right? So they're like, yeah, we give you right plug, and I'm like, yeah, right. So now I have the adapter that I have, and I just plug this in my power bar on the side here. Electrocute myself. And I put it into the demagnetizer. And I'm going to do this prior to putting the dust cover on. So I will take this here and I put it into the demagnetizer. Just point over here for a second. I go in just a bit. I don't go all the way in usually. I just go in a bit and then I pull it straight out. So you press the button, right? And it's going to make some funky stuff happen with your hairspring. And then you pull it out slowly. And while the button is still pressed. And then I will see if it's done anything for me. Just want to straighten out those molecules so they don't. Yeah, look at that. So that's the compass now. And it's not doing anything. So that successfully demagnetized that watch, the hairspring. So it's not jittering back and forth like it was before. And that'll give me a bit better amplitude on that. So, and I will check the amplitude. It's probably not great because it's, you know, you could put a brand new, you could put a brand new mainspring on there, but you know, I don't know whether that's worth it because the owner is probably not going to walk around with this watch for the next 20 years. He just wants to save it for his grandchild or whatever. So I think that a new mainspring is probably a waste. So the old mainspring's not too bad. The watch is working. And now it's just a matter of casing it and putting the hands back on. So I want to put the dust ring back on, and then I want to case the watch. So I've got the dust ring here, and there's only one way to put the dust ring on because there's little tabs in there. So I just keep my butt away from the, this is running nicely in all directions, which is nice. So I'm going to keep myself away from anything that could cause a problem. So I'm looking for the little screws here that would line up properly with the casing. So I think that is them there. I think it is. So I'm going to find this one here is like that, and then that's like that, and then there's another little screw there, right there. So that's fine there. And I'm going to use my fingernail to grab the dust cover and hopefully pull it down. Or not. I can hear it, I can feel it shifting, the dust cover. So actually, one thing I need to do before I put this dust cover on, I just remembered, I want to put a little tiny bit of oil on the pallet fork. Just a little tiny bit. Even though the watch is working well right now, this will make it work even better. So I'm just going to pull this dust cover off carefully, and then we'll put a little bit of oil on that pallet fork. And the oil I want to put on, let me look at the pallet fork. So I'm going to put it on the feet of the escapement so I don't have to touch the pallet fork itself. And I want to put in this Mobius 9415, which is the world's best little tiny oil. So I'm just going to put this down for a second. Let it keep running. Just keep on ticking, man. Don't stop ticking. Takes a licking and keeps on ticking. This one has been fun. There's the oil there. Just put a tiny little drop of oil on there. So that's the oil that I'm putting on. Just a tiny drop of that. And I'm going to poke in there. I'm going to switch glasses because I do need times 15 to do this. And I'm going to be disrupting the movement. So let's see how well this works. But I'm going to just move my camera up a bit so you might be able to see what I'm up to. There's the pallet fork working away, and I'm going to go in the side here. And I'm going to touch should do. I'm just touching the escapement there and allowing that the oil to go on the feet of the escapement and then move around, and that'll just get onto the jewels on the pallet fork. So I don't have to touch the jewels of the pallet fork, which is a nice thing. And then just stab this off and clean it up and put that back. It'll run a little bit gooey for the first little tiny while because that oil is being introduced in there, but it'll run a lot better after, which is nice. So now I can focus on putting the dust cover back on and get this thing back in working order here. Give it a hand here and find those screws. I think that's one there. Not sure, but if I can find one, I should be able to find the other one, right? Correct. So now I'm just trying to put this dust cover back on and make sure that it's lined up properly. Yeah, I can see where the dust cover screws are, so that helps. You just have to move it down into place here. These dust covers are pretty tight. I'm not sure why they made these dust covers, but they did. To prevent you from putting your fingers in there, I think. Just trying to pull this down. There's no special technique for putting back these dust covers, by the way. Just line it up and pray for the best, I think. I gotta make sure it's down low enough so it's working. Oh, there we go. That's snapped down on one side, which is nice. And I'm hoping to get it to snap down on the other side. Should also be nice. Anyway, I'll be back after with my dust cover dilemma. It's almost on though. Alright, the dust cover is on nicely, and I can tell because the dust cover alignment screws are aligned with the side holes here. So you got to make sure that's done properly. And Mr. Watch is still running, so now it's a matter of just casing this thing properly and not screwing things up. Because I'm going to case it first, then I'm putting the hands back on. I don't want to put the hands back on with the with this watch kind of all over the place. So before I do that, though, I want to go downstairs and buff this just a bit. I went down to my Frankenstein lab and I polished the case up. And as you can see, it's looking pretty good. Should have probably had a before and after, but this case is looking nice. So the micro scratches in here, and I'm not sure how you get rid of those, but in general, it looks pretty good. You can see my face in it, which is what you want. So that's not bad at all. And now I'm going to case this bugger because it needs to be cased. I didn't bother polishing the dust cover because I don't think there's any value doing that. So the owner can take some PEEK and go in there with some PEEK, and you can just polish the crap out of this with PEEK. So I may try that in the back in a few minutes, but for now I got this little blob of Rodico here. Where is that going to go? Right here, I think. The watch is still ticking away, which is nice. So I want this to go in. There's an alignment. There should be an alignment tab in here because I can see the where the top would be. So this would come in from the back like this and go in like that. So I was going to put a glove on, but since I didn't have a glove on before, let me look at the watch and see if there's a few fingerprints on it. Yeah, so I'm going to Rodico out those fingerprints after, but there we go. So I have to make sure this is aligned up. So there's a little tiny groove right there. So I believe that groove is going to find a home on the side. Right there, I think, is where that would go in. That groove looks like it's on the bottom. So when I put this watch in like this, if I look at the top, is that going to be 12 o'clock? No, it isn't. So I'm going to make sure 12 o'clock is on the top. 12 o'clock would be like that. I'm going to look where that groove is again. See if I've got another little pokey sticking out. I got one on the top there. Oh, there's another hole on the top, another alignment hole, as you can see right there. So that is the alignment hole. So that has to go, it has to go in that hole. So I just have to make sure that it goes in like that. There we go, look at that. It just fell in when that was in the alignment hole. Now I didn't know that was there before. I guess if I had been repairing like a billion of these type pocket watches before, I would have known there'd be an alignment hole there, but there wasn't. So this is a screw that was causing me all kinds of problems. Like I said before, I try to keep my screws and screwdrivers down low. That way, if I slip at all, which can happen, the gravity will pull the screwdriver down, not up. So also don't put a lot of pressure on this screw as you're screwing it in. See how that slipped there and it went down, not up. That's the trick. Yeah, there we go. This is not easy because this foolish little friggin' screw here that's used to keep the movement in place is a pain in the butt where it is, because it's down where the dust cover is, which is almost impossible to work on. You saw how hard it was for me to take this out. Well, it's being just as much a pain in the butt to put back in. So I'll just do half a turn at a time and then reestablish my coordinates while I'm holding onto the screwdriver. I'm not letting any weight from the screwdriver take over here. There we go. Now it's down below. And it should just screw right in there, which is nice. I'm still holding the face on the other side to make sure there's no issues. There we go. So that's in. That's in like that. And I need to put the hands back on. It's working nicely. And again, like I said before, you can take some peek and peek out the inside of this carefully to get rid of that fingerprint in there. That's not my fingerprint, by the way, it's someone else's. I don't think Rodico will get rid of that fingerprint, although Rodico is amazing. I'm like, I should be a salesman for Rodico, right? The old Rodico sales guy. He's at your door again. Because you can sometimes just scrape those things off like that. See that? It's almost gone. This is some 100-year-old fingerprint. There. 100-year-old fingerprint gone. Hope this wasn't the guy's great-grandfather's fingerprint. Not sure how we could tell, but anyway. Well, that's cool. So the watch is still running in all directions, which is nice. So I'm going to close this lid to protect it. And I'm going to close the other lid to protect it. And now I'm just going to remove some of the fingerprints that I made while I was putting this thing together again. So, and it's a good idea to remove those fingerprints. Well, the hands are not in. And I just checked the glare to see if the fingerprint is gone. And when you're looking at the pocket watch, you probably wouldn't even notice the fingerprints, but I'm pretty anal retentive, as the gentleman who owns the watch has said. I think his name is Barry. Did I get the right name, Barry? Hopefully I do. So that's that there. And I want to put in the main hands first before I fart with the before I try to put in the other hands. So the first hand that needs to go in, you've got two hands here, so it's got the main hand here, the hour hand, and then you've got the second hand here, which is basically this second hand here needs to be put in, and then the main hand needs to move or something. So because you've got this second hand is only going to go in a certain way because it attaches to the top part like that at an angle. So if I look at what I've got here right now, it's like this. So what I want to do is make sure that that's at the top, not at the side. So I want to kind of just, I'd like to just put this on just temporarily like that, and then move the key, or move, nah, I can't do that, can I? Let me try this out. This is a trial and error thing because I'm not used to this particular configuration. So I want to take the key. Where is the key? Where did I put the key? Does anybody know where I put the key? I do have to heat up my coffee again though. Where did I put the key? I'll just get another one. That other balance is just ticking away there. I don't know where I put the key. It's not anywhere. Let me see. It's under there. Nope. It's under there. Nope. Over there. Nope. Oh, I know what I did. I threw it back in where the delivery case was. There's the key there. So if I can make this key, because this angle is kind of perfectly obtuse, so I have to turn this a certain way. I think. So I can make this triangle fit properly and then put it on. It's a little bit over that way more, so I'm going to move it back. Or I'll just move it 360. So I'll move it another 10 degrees. And that might do. Let me look at that again. That might do. So when I put the minute hand on, that's where the minute hand is pointing right now, right? So I want it to point, which means my hour should be just off from center. Of course, I put this on now, I can't get it off. There we go. But what I'm going to do is turn it just a tad more. Like that. And then my minute hand should be pretty much aligned. There we go. Now I got to very quickly put my hour hand on before the time changes. So I want my hour hand to be straight up and down, like that. Like that. And then I want to press that straight down. I'm going to look at this while I push it. That might do there. Don't know. Could probably go down further, you know, but I don't think my jobby doohickeys will push it down any further, which is interesting because these things are pretty big, but let me just see if this works. Yeah, it's sticking up a bit, so I gotta move that so it doesn't stick up. It's not bad there. I just want to make sure that that minute hand is able to get on there and not interfere with the hour hand. The minute hand is on right now. Raise it up just a little bit, and it's got to go down enough for for you to be able to change the time. That's the tricky part. Is that working? The hour hand's a tiny bit off, but it should be good enough. I hope that it's just so tricky to put this on properly. Just be very careful turning this. So basically there we are on the hour. I'm not sure if that's stuck to the side or what, because it's stopping it now. Hands are a pain in the ass, I'm telling you. Watch hands can be such a pain. So somehow this is stopped. Let me see what's going on here. What has happened is that there we go. What's happened is as you play with the hands, the watch may want to stop. I don't know. I think I can lower that hour hand a bit more to just get it out of the way. Not sure. Let me turn this again. It's ticking again, so I'm good. I just want to see what kind of clearance I'm getting here. Not enough clearance. Well, I'm going to put the second hand in and I'll just keep an eye on it. Make sure it still runs. So, what time is it? It's 1. Of course, I don't want to move it backwards, but it's 1:14 right now. So, there it is, ticking away. I'm just going to let that tick out, and I think I got all the fingerprints off here. Just go through this a bit again, just a little tiny bit. That's good there. So hands are on. I'm not completely happy with how they go on because it's just difficult. Watch is still working away. Picking up pretty good actually. So I think we're good, but I'm going to put this in a time grapher right now and check it out. It's not a great amplitude, but it's not too bad. So in winding this, you just stick the key in like that. Make sure there's positive pressure going down, and then turn the key like that. Just make sure you have positive pressure pushing down on that key. I did square off the bottom a bit, and it is winding, so which is nice. So and again, you'd be winding this with the dust cover on, and that's to prevent the key slipping and hitting the hairspring. But I'm going to regulate this right now to see if I can get some good numbers out of it. Looks like it's ticking pretty good. So be back in a So I almost have a 365-degree turn on the balance, which is not too bad for a watch that's from the 1800s. Alright, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to lower this dust cover. I'm going to leave it kind of not snap close, because I can snap this close with the dust cover closing. And I just want to keep an eye on it and make sure that it's running and I'm getting some, the actual hands are turning and I've got no issues here. And I can look at it really closely too to tell whether I'm actually getting, yeah, no, the hands are turning, no problem. So I'm going to look at that. So the time is, what is it, 20 after 2 right now. So it's 20 after 2 on this old pocket watch, and it's running, and that's it. So there you go. Thanks for watching my channel. I'm going to make the video now, and hopefully the gentleman is very happy with the work that I've done. As an added treat, I'm going to de-dunker this watch here and just lower that so that I can get the this on another bounce tack actually, and this should be clean as heck right now, which is nice. So there we go. So this is still sticking in there, but I may need a double tweezer, the dual tweezers, just to get this out properly. And this is the type of bounce that I'm used to, so this should just sit here, and I can let that dry on its own time. I'm not too worried about it. It should just sit down like that. I don't want to put it on that one. That seems to be a bit low. It's a bit too relaxed, I think. So I could see if it fits on here. It's not as relaxed. Nope, doesn't go through the hole there. My God. Oh my God. Time for the first balance tack. There's always one that will work. Fear not, folks. Fear not, for I bring you tidings of joy that will go throughout the land. So that one works there, except it's not resting anywhere. So I can put it back on this tack here, but I've got to get rid of this lighter fluid. So let me just do that. Get rid of the lighter fluid. Dry things out, and then start from there. Because I want that tack to be, the mount to be relaxed. Relaxed, I tell you. I should actually turn off the recording while I go outside. Alright, here's what I do. This has nothing to do with the previous watch. So I will put this, I clean this out. I just cleaned that out, so I just put that back. I have a little pad I made, right, which I put on top here, which protects the balance, and then I can put this back on, as you will see. Put this back on. Just grab this very carefully. I tend to just move equipment out of the way and to move it into the way. Don't move the balances around. And I just sit that down like that. And now it's sitting down. It's a little bit too tight, so I can, no, it's actually fine like that. So it's just sitting like that, and so the hairspring is kind of relaxed in this mode. There's no stress at all. I'm going to look at the side, make sure there's no entanglement. Nope. So the hairspring is stressless on the on this particular device. So I'm just going to put that into a watch holder here. See if I can put this down here somewhere with any luck. It doesn't look like it wants to sit down flat, but anyway. I guess that's good enough. And then I'll put the lid back on there. And so we have a balance from the other watch now sitting in there, and it's going to dry in there no problem. It's probably dry already because it's been hanging for a while. And that's ready for the next video. This old watch, this old Waltham. So there you go. And the other one is ticking away, as I said before. Just grab this beast. There it is there. And it's, as you can see, the time is advancing, which is great. So there you go. So once again, thanks for watching my videos. Hope you enjoyed them. There's all my little tacks all there, and I'll see you next time.